everyone. Welcome to Rainbow Soulstrology. I'm Brighthawk, and together with Hollis Taylor, we bring you weekly astrology that's accessible, inclusive, and totally down to earth. Hollis is a seasoned astrologer and psychic medium. I'm a musician, artist, and storyteller who loves making the cosmos relatable. We're both passionate teachers who love answering your questions and helping you navigate life through the stars. Each week we start with a guided meditation to tune in to the planetary energies. Then we dive into the week's cosmic forecast, offer horoscopes for every sign, and always make time for your live questions. Whether you're brand new to astrology or you've been following the stars for years, we create a welcoming space where everyone belongs. Our different perspectives and styles come together to give you a well-rounded cosmic experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soulstrology. Let's get centered, tune in, and explore what the universe has in store for us this week.
Hey, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're tuning in to Rainbow Soul with Brighthawk and I. And we are Mercury Retrograde. Can you tell?
How's it been for you?
Great. So, just be aware that Mercury's retrograde and now Jupiter's about to join it. So we'll talk more about that. But I'm going to say first, let's do a little meditation with Brighthawk so we can get grounded and centered and ready to receive some new information. I invite you to take a deep breath. Settle into your body. Allow your body to just release that tension. And find yourself floating. Floating in outer space. With zero gravity, nothing to hold you back. Nothing weighing you down. And just imagine yourself in space with Jupiter, one of the biggest planets. And it seems so massive, so big. You feel so small in front of it. And as you await the massive planets turning, it seems to have stopped turning altogether. It's so big you barely notice. It seems still. And in that moment, you reflect back to yourself. Your belief systems. What do you believe about your home, about your neighborhood, about your country? About where you live and where you are now. And what feels comfortable. And what holds you in peace. What makes you feel small in this moment? And as Jupiter zooms away from you, you realize that your feeling of being small is actually just a perception. And as you come back out from Jupiter, from outer space, come back into yourself. You come back to your here and now, to this moment, wiggling your toes and opening your eyes. And you come back to Rainbow Soulstrology forecast.
Thank you.
Well, I hope that you guys can figure out that Jupiter's going retrograde and has actually it's a pretty big planet, so we don't always notice it immediately, and that's something you can mark about. You can learn. We always want to teach here at Rainbow Soul, and when more personal planets, you tend to feel them more when they're directly on a planet of yours. And you feel them usually within 5 degrees or less. Jupiter, you won't feel it unless it's on a planet or when it moves in and out, and when it moves retrograde, when bigger planets move like that, they kind of reverberate, like something might happen, but you might not be aware of it, and then a week later, somebody tells you, "Oh, I did that a week ago." Right? Okay, and then and you're feeling it now, right? So it's kind of like a especially right now with Mercury retrograde, there's some delay in things. There's this is we're actually recording this on Sunday. Um and so it tends to create this sort of slow down of energy where things are delayed, especially because that's the day that Mercury actually goes retrograde. And then it looks like and we're going to share the charts here with you. So when we look at the charts here, Bright Hawk, you'll have to unmute yourself if you want to say anything. Um, when you look at the chart here, you can see that actually on Monday, technically Jupiter is stationed. It's not quite retrograde. It actually goes retrograde, I think, on Tuesday, but it's stationed. And so it kind of begins its process of having you review, edit, revisit your belief systems about your home, about your country, about your neighborhood, literally about your house, literally about what space you live in and what does it feel like and what should it be. I know Bright Hawk and I are doing that. We can't make this up. But even if you're not moving or relocating, you might also be experiencing it more gosh, I just don't like my furniture here. It could be something as simple as that to uh I, I thought this about our government, but now I'm thinking this. And so you might be revisiting or editing or reviewing something that you believed in the past, everything from your home to, where your bed's at in your house to um to your government or to your neighborhood or who your neighbors are or what neighbors you talk to, um, or what your relationship with them is. Okay. And with Mercury retrograde, it's going to have a lot to do with communication. Okay. So communication it comes through in it's coming through with the Sagittarius and the Scorpio. So I think there actually are a lot of people relocating. I actually have spoken to a couple of you that I know that you at least watch this replay, and that with the Mars and Mercury, Mars moving direct in Sagittarius and Mercury going retrograde, you're actually, Bright Hawk actually know two other people in our community that are moving back to an area that they used to live, and one of them is moving back to their sort of home state. And I'm just laughing because I'm like, well, that's okay. But maybe there's a bigger reason for it that we don't quite understand, but it totally makes sense for the Sagittarius part of it because Sagittarius is about short moves.
And I've heard no less than 3 astrologers say exactly the same thing. That because it's in Sagittarius, lots of movement, people downsizing, and just it's everywhere. Yeah, just gonna say exactly what I'm just gonna underscore what you're saying. That's all.
But it totally makes sense because Sagittarius is about travel. It's about and some people are I know people Brayhawk is hilarious. I know people on the East Coast right now, like in the South Carolina, moving to California, um, where they grew up. And so it's wild, okay? And some people, if you're not doing that, it could be something else in relation to Sagittarius. What else is Sagittarius? And Sagittarius is ruled by that Jupiter. So you could have some sort of delay in that or some sort of hiccup or something that slows that down a little bit. Um with Jupiter going retrograde, but I feel that it's for your best interest. Um, because, especially because Jupiter's in a trine to Saturn and Neptune, and being in a trine to them it's coming together easily, yes, but it's also making you to just kind of, you might have a little delay because of the Mercury retrograde. But I think Jupiter going back is just it's not gonna necessarily, Jupiter's not gonna be part of what's holding you up. It's more like, are you sure that's where you want to go? Are you sure that's where you want to live? Is that where you want to go? Is that where you want to put your bed? Is that, and it could be like, is this how you want to live every day? It could be that. It could be, it's going to have something to do with where you live, how you live, and how you live in your home. Now, Sagittarius does also address indulgence. So if you have some sort of addiction or something like that, you could be reviewing or editing that.
Yeah, remember retrogrades are all about the words. Review, huge. Re-edit, reconsider. All of the words are part of retrogrades. And so it just behooves us to take that moment that the universe is offering, and instead of trying to go full steam ahead, take that moment to review. Take that moment to reconsider. It's part of what retrogrades are good for. They can be helpful for that. And, it's part of the ebb and flow of life, right? There's a tide, there's a flow, and retrogrades are part of that. So paying attention to how that works for you is really good.
Yeah. So, so by Monday, we're deep in Mercury retrograde. It's really good. You'll feel it more if you have something around 6 degrees in Sagittarius. So that's between like 1 and 10 degrees Sagittarius. You'll feel it more, or something in Gemini around 1 to 10 degrees. You'll start to feel it more as Mercury comes back into Scorpio. It's going to ask you to revisit some things or look at some things while Mercury and Venus do a little dance later on in this transit. I've looked at the whole Mercury retrograde transit for the month of November, and this week honestly isn't all that terrible. I mean, there's a little bit of review and editing and like changing of plans maybe or whatever, but I don't see it being that harsh. Maybe if you have some planets there and they're harshly aspected, maybe that could create some difficulty for you. But and if that's happening, just come talk to me in a private reading and I'll try to help you sort it out. But for the most part, most people are just gonna try to look at things, and it's going to depend on what house it's in, right? So you want to look at what house where is Sagittarius and Scorpio, where do they meet in your chart, what house are they in, because the late degree Scorpio and early degree Sagittarius is where this transit is happening. So that's where it's going to affect you, whether you have a planet there or not. But and that's if you're using the Placidus tropical Placidus chart generation like I have here, which is pretty standard for most astrology programs. Okay. Not all, but most, a lot of them. Astro.com definitely uses tropical Placidus as its default. Okay. So you'd have to, if you're like, what is that, Hollis? Placidus trop? What? Okay. Don't worry about it. If you don't know what that is, it's okay. If you go to astro.com and you're getting your astrology chart, you can usually look up in the upper left-hand corner where it has like the time and the date, or wherever it has that. And here it's in the upper left-hand corner. You can see it says Boulder, Colorado. Then it says geocentric. Then it says tropical and Placidus. And that's just the style of chart that it is. Okay. And the reason that's important is because it changes where things land sometimes. Okay. And so if you're using, I believe just to be clear, all astrology leads to the same place, in my opinion. Okay. You end up finding the same answers, in my opinion. Every time I've tried other systems, I've found for me, Placidus is more detailed oriented and a little bit more accurate for my use. But some people find great use in their whole house system, and that's perfectly fine too. Okay. So with Mars and Mercury traveling together, you want to look and see what house is this in? What house is Sagittarius start in? And whatever number, you can see the house, you can see that the 1 through 12 in that inner circle that's yellow in this image. Maybe you have a similar looking chart. If you're on astro.com, which is a very popular system, they'll have these numbers 1 through 12, and those are the houses. And you can always Google what does the second house rule in astrology, and Google totally knows the answer to that question. Okay. So AI does too. Sometimes you can talk astrology with AI. I haven't found it to be very good at looking at your whole chart and reading the aspects and such. You can talk things out if you know astrology with an AI bot, but it doesn't seem to pick up on the aspects as well, unless you point them out. And the aspects are those lines in the middle. Okay. And it is pretty important if you have something at those early degrees in Sagittarius and Mercury and Mars are transiting them, it's going to activate it's going to activate that aspect, which is sort of Nadia Shaw calls it a conversation with another planet, right? Okay. So in here, you can see that Mercury is at 6 degrees, it's red, and it has a blue line going down to the moon on Monday in Leo. So, so what do you think about that, Bright Hawk?
Well, I agree with you on the intensity factor. It's just not as intense this week. And I'm sure most people are kind of relieved to hear that. So it's not surprising, though, right? Part of how we define a month is the building intensity towards a full moon. And then once the full moon happens, then it's a shedding energy, a letting go, exhaling, finishing up the month, right? And then, of course, we start it all over again with the new moon, which will be next week. So the moon's aspects this week, we start off with the moon in Leo. So I'll be curious if you noticed last week we had Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday were almost all day long a void moon. Was there anything easier or remarkable or less remarkable, or did you feel energized or not energized? Like, were you able to focus or not at all? I'm just curious because, of course, the moon went home into Cancer on the weekend, and now it, of course, is in Leo. And so the moon is in positive aspects on Monday, trining Mercury and Mars, squaring Venus, having a conversation with Venus, of course. And of course, you can see it's in a separating conjunction with Jupiter. Jupiter makes everything bigger and is opposite. Well, the moon is opposite Pluto for sure. That's one of those things everybody is aware of. The potential for transformation and things underground and earthquakes and Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is a sign of revolution ruled by Uranus. Pluto is the sign of transformation, can be tumultuous. The moon in Leo, a fire sign. There's a little tension there. I'm going to be honest, there's some tension there. And hopefully not too overly heated because it's also square Venus. So relationships there could be words and hoping that that's not too rough. But what I also want to point out is we have another very long, all day long void of course moon. So what that means is that the moon is in between signs. It's leaving Cancer, coming into Leo, and it's void all day long, 9:40 to 5:30. So usually what that means is that there's not a lot of emotional energy. And hopefully for you, that means that things are easier because it's not emotionally charged. It's not high energy. The moon's very weak when it's in a void. So the energy's just not there for high drama. Sometimes you can use that to your advantage, have conversations that with difficult people that you're like, oh, I just don't want this to get drama. Use a void of course moon and then let me know how it goes. So all day, Monday's a void of course moon.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that is that I'm kind of glad that it's void, because when it's in a hard aspect like that, opposite Pluto, it kind of just tones it down and quiets the drama, like she said. And the thing is that the void, of course, from being like that most of the day on Monday, I think that's a good thing. My biggest thing with void, of course, means I can't focus. I have a hard time focusing, but maybe it'd do better if it's in Leo, since that's where my Venus is, and that rules my house of work. So then on Tuesday, um you know eh, things actually kind of lighten up a little bit. So if you are going through something intense with the Mercury retrograde, something happens over the weekend and you're like, oh my god, okay, well, it's probably Mercury retrograde. It will kind of chillax Tuesday. I think Tuesday will be even more relaxed. I think that it will be a little bit quieter. Now sometimes this can kind of brew things a little bit, but I think it'll be a little bit quiet, and we'll be moving, making progress, maybe, or not, or feeling a little bit like stuck in limbo. But I think with Mars and Mercury traveling together on Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm pretty sure that since they're doing kind of a little bit of a dance, I feel that that's gonna push us forward towards action. Even if something's not quite working out the way we wanted, it's going to push us towards taking action towards things. So we'll continue to move towards that and continue to take action. The action in Sagittarius has a lot to do with like moving or changing locations. It could have stuff to do with taking action in relation to some sort of indulgence, or maybe it's a belief system, or anything like that. So those kinds of things are going to be coming up with that Mars and Mercury doing this little dance in Sagittarius. Sagittarius usually rules relocation, travel. Sometimes it can speak to indulgences, and it can also speak to belief systems, or sometimes righteousness. So, you might be experiencing a little bit of that. And with Uranus going back into Taurus this week, which I actually I think we forgot to mention it, but it's okay because you don't always feel it. I think I might have mentioned it last week, right? Uranus is going to dip back into Taurus because it's retrograde, right? And the thing is Uranus is going back into Taurus, and that's conservative, right? That's the conservatives. That's revisiting, reviewing the way we've always done things. Is that really supporting everyone? Is that really supporting our best progress forward? And not just in government, but in your life, in your family, in your friends, in your communities, depending on where Taurus, Gemini meet in your chart. Okay, so all the zodiacs only have 30 degrees, so they go to 30 and then they start the next zodiac. So you can see here that Taurus just came back from Gemini, going backwards. It's red, it means it's going backwards. came from Gemini back into Taurus at 29 degrees, right there at the bottom of the chart. And it's in a square to the moon on Wednesday. But I don't think that will create too much stuff. I just think that there could be some things maybe we're thinking a lot even about ourselves. Maybe we're very focused on our experience. Um, and Taurus, the 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 thing about Taurus is that it's kind of like, oh, do things the way you always used to do them. It sort of slows progress, resists change, and Uranus is the opposite of that. So a lot of times I have felt, at least for me, that the last few years since Uranus has been in Taurus have been rather uncomfortable, usually because I'm trans. And I'm very Uranus based person. I call myself a Uranian because I'm kind of a little bit, well, Uranus is on my ascendant. So if you're non-binary, maybe you also find that Uranus is on your ascendant. Not all non-binary people, but some. And when Uranus is in Taurus like that, it can kind of feel like, are we going backwards? What's going on here? But it's for good reason. We have to go back and kind of review or edit or look at the way we were doing it and consider maybe doing it another way. So that's pretty much what's gonna. The week is pretty quiet. Uranus is gonna try to bring that up for you. There is a nice big grand trine with Jupiter, the Sun, and Saturn. So I feel that this is emotional experiences, and since there's two major planets retrograde plus the Sun in Scorpio, which is transformative, I feel that this is going to be an emotional transformation on Thursday. You're probably going to feel it come together pretty easily. Maybe there's something that's been going on, and by Thursday you've rectified it in your head somehow, and you've figured out how you're going to do this or how this is going to work or how you feel about it. Especially since Jupiter has made you review some things, Saturn's making you review, Neptune's making is in a review, Mercury's in a review, and the Sun is in Scorpio right now, part of this grand trine, asking us all to change. And this is an emotional shift. I do not think it's going to be a hard shift. I would see it more like an easy shift, but I am a Scorpio rising. I like it that way. I'm okay with emotional shifts. I understand that not everybody is. So it just depends on how comfortable you are with shifting your emotions, with changing the way you're thinking, believing, or feeling about something. I'm pretty good about it. You know, I'll spend a little bit of time on it, but I tend to just trust my guides. I tend to just be like, okay, well, apparently that wasn't meant for me. I thought it was, but apparently it's not. And I'm wrong all the time about things in my life, especially in my own life. Um, all the time. That uh yeah. And I could be wrong about things all the time. And that um I think that being open to that is kind of what makes it a little bit easier for me to shift, recognizing that I could be wrong. So then when I'm wrong, I'm just like, oh, well, I guess I was wrong. And then that's the end of it. And we just move on. Okay. And so hopefully you're able to transform in a similar fashion. If not, hey, I'm giving you lots of warning if you're watching this on like Sunday, Monday. By Thursday, it's probably going to push you into a new belief system. So if you're like questioning some sort of belief system or something else that you have, then just be ready to shift it. Okay. Um, I see the Virgo moon is on the south node at the same time, which also speaks to what I was just saying anyway.
Yeah, so last week we had void moons on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. This week we have void moons on Monday, Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. to midnight, and on Saturday midnight to 9:45 a.m. So if you were working a night shift on Friday night into Saturday morning, hopefully things will be mellow for you on Saturday morning. So, yeah, and then it's worth pointing out that as the moon and the south node conjunct there on Friday is what we call a finger of God or a yod, which is Chiron is at the point and it's in conjunct the sun and moon. So this isn't going to last long. It's just for a day. And of course, the moon and the sun are sextile. So that points to healing, the need for healing. Uh, and it's very personal because it's sun and moon at the base. Couldn't get more personal to you than that. Your identity, your how you feel about it, the moon, and Chiron, healing, what you came here to heal, what your soul is here to heal and learn, which often is done through adversity, right? Because we rarely, transform when we're comfortable. We never transform when we're comfortable, let's be honest. So, Friday could be a potent day. It could be a powerful day. So a realization could be made. Um, Something could be set in motion in a good way. And again, I just want to point out that conjunction with the south node means that it's also opposite, of course, the north node. And this just to me speaks of sort of ringing the bell of what happened during the eclipse period, right? The eclipse period, the eclipses are in Virgo and Pisces, Pisces in the north node in Pisces, south node in Virgo. So if you have placements there, this is still part of that revelation that comes from an eclipse, something that's been unfolding that you could not have predicted a year ago, and here we are. It's unfolding, it's revealing, it's showing you now what your destiny looks like. So powerful, it's a powerful time. And then the other thing that Hollis pointed out that I would point out is we head into the weekend again with a Grand Water Trine. So we've had a lot of water trines this month. Grand trines just mean that everything is in the same element. Of course, in this case, water, Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer. And so water, of course, represents our emotions, right? How we feel about it, the ocean of emotion. So powerful trines. These are makes things come together quickly, and all of a sudden stuff that you might not have even thought was possible is like, boom, it's happened. It's like, wow, holy moly. So always good to be in gratitude, because that's absolutely the best way to make your dreams come true, is to stay in gratitude and see it as if it's done. A great way to work with that energy. And yeah, we come into the weekend, I think, pretty nicely.
Yeah, I noticed that the yod pulling from the sun and the south node, pointing to Chiron, it really speaks to letting go of things that have been holding us back. Whatever's been holding us back, we're going to get some help in letting that go, some support in that. And as you navigate the weekend, you're probably going to notice that more and more think that trine, you can see that big blue triangle there, becomes darker and darker. And that just means that it's a little bit more prominent. Okay. And so with the sun and Saturn and Neptune in a trine to Jupiter in Cancer, this has a lot to do with like our emotions. This has to do with emotional healing. And you want to look and see where those water signs are in your chart. Like, where do they land? Because that'll tell you a lot, right? Where are Saturn and Neptune right now? And it's all in the late degree of the water signs. So like 25 through 29, 24 through 29 in there. With the sun and the sun in Scorpio, and Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer. You want all of those planets are transiting wherever your water signs are. And so that's actually a real blessing. It's going to be able to help you out, and just keep going forward. Keep your emotions open, like I always say that, like, you can't always bend the universe to fit your plan, your agenda. And I think that it's important to remember that. And sometimes I think the universe has bigger plans for us. And so I try to kind of mold it. And then if the universe makes all that fall apart and it doesn't come together, then I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just supposed to do this right now. I guess we're just supposed to do this. I guess this is supposed to happen or whatever. And so then I just spend a lot of time um shifting into the next year and then just focusing on what spirit is presenting to me. So, don't fight things. It's not really in your best interest to do that. It's not really helpful. And I would instead just kind of try to ride with it. I think it'll be pretty easy for you. The only people that are probably really struggle with it is if you have planets there that are directly on there, directly in those late degree signs, then maybe you might feel something. Um, but it might also just be easy for you. It might depend on what sign it is and what planet it is and what other aspects are going on in your chart. Now, make sure you mark the dates here. Bright Hawk put in this for you that Mercury goes direct on November 29th. So if you're waiting to sign a contract or something else, you might want to try to wait till then if you can. Jupiter is retrograde March 10th. Jupiter retrograde pattern is going to be retrograde, and it does this every year. This isn't new. It goes retrograde every year for like part of the year, and it will be retrograde until March. And Saturn will be going direct just before Mercury does, which I think is actually going to make us at the end of the month finally feel like we're making progress, finally feel like things are going in the direction we want them to go to. And then Uranus will not go direct until February. Okay. So just mark those days. Uranus, Jupiter, and Saturn, you may not feel it on the day, but you'll feel it afterwards. Like I said, it'll be a little bit more like a reverb. You'll feel it a week later or 2 weeks later. And with Mercury, you'll probably feel it the day of. It'll feel like someone, finally turned the hot water on or something. Where you're like, oh, good. We finally know what direction we're going into. So if you got something that you're dealing with right now, and you're not sure when the end of it is, sometimes it's helpful to know when the light at the end of the tunnel when you get here. And so just know that by the end of November, it's all going to resolve and we're going to figure this out. All right. All right. So
most importantly, may you have a blessed week. May it be a beautiful thing. And hopefully this helps you know how to surf the energy. Remember those void moons are Monday and Wednesday and Saturday morning. And that Grand Trine, that Grand Water Trine, we've had one coming into the weekend, like the last number of weekends. It's kind of funny how the last month has had a number of these. So hopefully that creates flow energy and not flooding energy. I know Hollis is getting their tarot deck together, and we're always continuously amazed at how the tarot reflects what's going on in the stars, which is why we always make sure we do a tarot reading at the end. Hollis uses the Love is Love deck, which is a Pride deck. You can get it online. And the last several weeks, the tarot readings following the astrology have been mind-blowing to me. So I'm sure this week will be no different. Let's see what the cards have to say.
Okay, sorry about that. I was talking and I was muted. Don't worry, I realized it and I fixed it. Okay, so this is the 9 of Pentacles, and this has a lot to do with the past, okay? And this is very much about your resources from the past. This is very much about how resources make you look as well. This is about asking about your reputation and how that feeds you or doesn't. It's not necessarily always a good thing, but it's just talking about your reputation and your resources around reputation. So this might have a lot to do with who you're with and what kind of people you associate with, and that's the Nine of Pentacles. And interestingly, I can see that this must be have something to do with relationships, because then I have the Two of Wands, which is the present, which is the now, which is working as a team with someone else, usually two people, usually you and another person, working for the same goal, coming together for the same thing with the same intention. And that is this is actually a really great card because, well, at least in my opinion, I'm a Libra moon, so I appreciate collaboration, but it's very much about collaboration. It's very much about coming together with, this is very Gemini energy. This is very standing with someone of like mind, of like intention, and doing something really big that has meaning for both of you. And that is really about manifesting some sort of strong future that is really meant for you. And interestingly, I was like, oh, okay, so we're collaborating. And then check this out. This is a great card. This is a Six of Cups, which is actually a really great card because this is like, and you got a special treat coming your way. So if you're going through something right now and you're like, I don't know how this is going to turn out, all this, especially if you're coming together with somebody else, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a good thing. This is all about treating yourself. This is all about, self-care, yes, but it's more about a gift. It's more about, you know, it's more about getting something special or something sweet. And something that's really special for you and maybe whoever you're collaborating with there, right? So remember, this is about your reputation in the past and what that means to you and how that makes you present maybe in the world, and especially in relation to your resources, maybe how you're seen, or how people see you. And then going forward, remember that this has a lot to do with partnering with someone else and standing by them to create something that is good for both of you, that manifests into something positive for both of you. This is very much like a mutual collaborative goal. This is a very strong card, Two of Wands. It's very mutual benefit, mutual intention. And then going forward, just know that where you're headed has a treat just for you with the Six of Cups here. The Six of Cups is really about cashing in, getting a treat, having something special come your way. That's going to be really sweet. So frankly, that's great news, right?
That's awesome news. Oh my gosh. Again, just mind blowing cards. That's why we do them. Hopefully, it really helps you have a great week. Thanks for listening to us live on Monday evening. Bring your questions, bring your chart. We're real happy to share with you any questions and how to take advantage of this for you. Look for the reels that are the horoscopes that Hollis does for each and every sign, which is really excellent, really helpful every week. And thanks so much for listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much for spending time with us this week. We hope you're feeling more connected to the cosmic energies and ready to work with them in your daily life. If you enjoyed today's show, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps us reach more people who could use some cosmic guidance. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who might need to hear it. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment, let us know what resonated most or what you would like covered next week. Your questions and feedback make our show better. Want to join us live? Subscribe! And catch us on Facebook and YouTube, where you can ask questions in real time and be part of our cosmic community as it happens. Until next week, Trust your intuition, follow your inner wisdom, and remember, the stars are always supporting your journey. Thanks for listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars.